Hey folks, good evening. Thanks so much for taking time out of your late night to join the Digital Weather Desk powered by Century Next Bank. I'm Jared Floyd. A live Q&A as we kind of try to make sense of what we're going to be dealing with this weekend. Before we get to anything, and as folks kind of join the live stream, we're already seeing folks kind of flood in. A quick shout out to everybody that makes this happen. Our local business partners, of course, Century Next Bank, Brown's Roofing, James Spivey, Bankruptcy Attorney, Allegiance Health Network, 3B Outdoor Equipment, 3B Hardware, Serve Pro, Monroe West Monroe, Bayou Power Sports, Russell Moore Lumber, United Way of Northeast Louisiana, the 211 Initiative, Country Club at Frenchman's Bend, Big Shot Bob, First South Farm Credit, Payroll Plus, and Flying Tiger Brewery and Pizza Bar. So again, these are our local businesses that not only allow us to do this on a day-to-day basis, but also to bring the extended, detailed coverage that we provide during breaking weather events. And this live Q&A is also made possible by the United Way of Northeast Louisiana, their 211 initiative. A couple of reminders from 211 and the United Way as we go into these next couple of days. Check on your seniors, individuals that are living alone, and families with babies. If you can, check on them twice a day. Identify anyone who is power dependent. This is a very, very important reminder. Folks that are on oxygen, dialysis, have refrigerated medications. Make sure that you help them plan early along the way for the potential for power outages. Obviously, avoid travel. Make sure that you're staying warm safely. An important note also on transportation assistance that 211 can help connect individuals prior to the onset of winter weather with transportation assistance when services are available. Again, as conditions worsen, transportation options may become limited or unavailable. So again, we've got a lot of resources in our area. Temperatures are expected to drop pretty dramatically as we go through the weekend. We'll get to all of that to a certain degree in just a minute. Again, a lot of this is a much more informal kind of setting for folks to ask questions. If you didn't join us last night, kind of some of the ground rules. If you're going to hop in and ask like, hey, what about this area? And if you're just kind of asking for a specific forecast for a specific town or a specific city or something like that, there's a high likelihood that it gets passed up simply because if I answer that for one city, then everybody's going to flood in with their city. Well, what about this city? What about this city? What about this city? Again, so we're trying to be, a little bit more, like I said, broad brush when we talk about potential impacts, at least at this time frame, because there's still a lot we don't know. I start off with a look at the winter weather impacts. This is the Winter Storm Stress Index, whatever it is. It's WSSI. And I know the first two letters are winter storm, and the third one's severity. The fourth one starts with an I. Pretty sure it's the Winter Storm Severity Index. That shows how much we use it, right? Because we don't see these very often. Moderate impacts, and again, these impact threat levels increase as the confidence in the forecast increases. I showed you this earlier. There was a lot of yellow. Now there's a lot of orange and some red, which means major impacts are possible across the region. The Winter Storm Watch, as it sits right now, includes the vast majority of the Arklamas region. It does not include Concordia Parish and Adams and Jefferson counties. Of course, all of your severe weather and winter weather alerts are made possible by Allegiance Health Network, providing high-quality, patient-centered care through a clinically integrated network of healthcare professionals. They are also the ones that bring you the automatic posts with the warnings and everything when we get severe weather warnings or winter storm warnings and all that stuff, although we don't have any winter storm warnings yet. Here's what the forecast as it sits right now for our area. And we'll get into some model data here in just a second as well. The general thought process is that the first folks that will see a changeover to wintry precipitation will be across southern Arkansas and into Washington County along the Mississippi Valley. And it will be a change to sleet and freezing rain, and it is most likely Friday evening. Next folks to change over will be the I-20 corridor to the state line. Freezing rain with some sleet mixed in. Farther northward, predominant precip type, probably sleet. I-20 corridor, predominant precip type, probably freezing rain. That's how I have it sitting right now, but I'm becoming increasingly concerned, especially across far southern Arkansas, for the potential that it's all going to be freezing rain. And if that happens, we're talking ice storm potential for a lot of these spots. Farther southward, again, you folks south of the I-20 corridor will be the last to change over, and it could be late Saturday before we see that change. And that'll probably happen, again, late Saturday night, and it would likely be rain changing to freezing rain with some sleet mixed in. For folks asking, when are we going to drop below freezing? Latest data has trended a little bit warmer, not drastically warmer, but a little bit warmer. Nothing really alarming. And for folks that are wondering about the data from the recon flight, we'll get to that in just a minute. There's not a lot of certainty as to if that data made it into the 0Z models. Some of the folks that were apparently on the plane say it did. Some of our local weather service offices saying it's not. So I don't know. We just look at the data anyway. It's not like, I mean, we still got to. It's the only data we have. We still got to use it. Earliest potential for dropping below freezing. The earliest reasonable time I could see southern Arkansas dropping below freezing is Friday afternoon. The most reasonable time is probably Friday night. Along the I-20 corridor, earliest reasonable time I could see you dropping below freezing is late Friday night. The most reasonable time is sometime Saturday morning, probably around sunrise, 6, 7 a.m. That's generally how I have it pegged right now. Southern counties and parishes could be as early as Saturday afternoon when you drop below freezing, but for some folks it may be, later than that. I think the most reasonable time will be late Saturday night. Let's move on to. Oh, dude, none of the chat questions are popping up. So I'm gonna reboot this and hope that all of them pop back up. If not, I'm gonna have to pull it up from my phone, which is fine. I'll make that happen. I think when we get a lot of questions at one time, the thing that kind of compiles all of the comments just kind of flips out and is like, I don't know what to do. So. Let me see if I can. Oh, I just dropped my clicker. Hang on. Okay. Let's just get back to the task at hand. I got too much going on, and I'm overstimulating myself. It's because we got, like I said, if you've ever watched, I've got like 3 different monitors going on here. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Visually, you can overload yourself and just kind of shut down pretty quickly. So here's a look at the possible accumulations. This is, again, very, very conservative. We're just getting rolling. Sleet up to a ½ inch of sleet accumulations across southern Arkansas, with ice accumulations up to 3/4 of an inch. That is a lot of ice. Again, if you're looking at that going, 3/4 of an inch ice, if you're comparing that to snow, it's again, those are apples and oranges, 2 very different things. Sleet up to 1/4 of an inch along the I-20 corridor, up to a ½ inch of ice. Again, these are very preliminary, very conservative estimates. South of the I-20 corridor, sleet less than 1/4 of an inch generally, and up to 1/4 of an inch in ice. Timothy asks, any new data from the recon flights? We have a lot of, and again, before we jump into data, first off, a lot of that data is still being finalized, so I can't show it to you through my graphics system. I can tell you about it, and I can look at it from this other computer, but it has not made its way through the graphics system yet, and it's going to take some time. Again, depending on who you ask, the 0Z model cycles do or do not include some of that data. Again, I have a lot of reports from some folks saying that a lot of the data, if not all of the data, made it into the 0Z model cycle. A lot of our local weather service offices are telling us that it didn't, and it won't make it in until 6Z. Regardless, even if it makes it into the 0Z cycle, it's going to take a couple of model cycles for that data to really be resourceful in any way anyway. But we're working in that direction. So here's a look at, again, the possible totals. Now let's jump into some model data. And then I'm just going to show you some cool stuff. And I'm kind of cycling through to make sure that I didn't miss any. Thawing back out is going to be a tough question. A lot of folks asking about specific cities, and again, I just want to caution you that if you're asking us about a specific city, that question very well just kind of may get skipped simply because there's going to be a lot of folks asking questions, and I really, if I answer one question about one town, then I feel compelled to start answering them for everybody. In terms of thawing out, I think we may struggle to thaw out until Tuesday afternoon in many spots. And that's kind of the general thought process that I've been kind of preaching, is that when we go below freezing Saturday morning for most of us, Friday night for some, Saturday morning for everybody else. Once we drop below freezing, prepared to stay below freezing until probably Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon. Some areas will get above freezing maybe Monday, but most of us it'll be Tuesday. And for some areas it may be Wednesday, just being honest. So let's look at some stuff. This is the latest. First off, a reminder. This is total liquid equivalent of all of the stuff that we're going to see. And you're going to see 4 inches of rain in the southern parishes, or 4 inches of liquid equivalent in the southern parishes. Keep in mind, it also starts with about 1.5 inches of rain that we've seen today. So subtract that out of there. It's about 2.5 inches of rain of liquid equivalent. Still a lot. Basically telling you this. We're going to get something. It's not really a matter now of, are we going to get precipitation? Is there going to be enough moisture? The moisture's going to be there. It's a matter of what it's going to be when it gets here. So here's a look at the latest model data from the Barron 3K. Again, it's showing the last of the showers that are going to move out over the next few hours and even into the daytime hours tomorrow. Rain starts through the afternoon on Friday. We're now kind of seeing a general thought process where we have like 2 different waves of precipitation. The first one, which is generally along and north of I-20, especially across southern Arkansas, there will be some areas that see wintry precipitation from this first wave, which starts Friday afternoon and continues through Saturday morning. So follow with me here. A lot of areas will see wintry precipitation out of this batch. Some areas will just see rain. Some areas won't see anything at all. First wave comes through, continues, like I said, through early Saturday morning as cold air continues to sink in. And then by midday Saturday, that first wave of precipitation starts to kind of quiet down a little bit. Then the secondary upper disturbance that kind of phases into the upper pattern, the one that we've been waiting on, that we've been talking about all week. The model data has that phasing in late Saturday into Sunday. The precip ramps back up, probably as sleet at this point, although it's being indicated here as freezing rain. And continues through early Sunday. And this probably brings us the best potential for heavy precipitation. And on that note, you probably look at that and you go, geez, Jared, that looks almost like thunderstorms. So let's get really weird. Here's a look at CAPE, which is convective available potential energy. It's a storm energy product that we look at during severe weather. This is Friday night. That's Saturday morning. That's Sunday morning. So what I'm gathering here and what I'm basically telling you is, don't be surprised to have sleet with the occasional rumble of thunder. Don't be surprised to have frozen thunderstorms, which you're probably going, frozen thunderstorms. Now he's just making stuff up. And I promise I'm not just sitting here on my phone trying to be rude, but I'm about to pull up all of the comments, and we'll go this way from here because, social media is not cooperating today. That's okay. So yeah, that's one of the weird things that I kind of wanted to show you is I can't rule out the possibility of us hearing some thunder with our sleet. And those types of things. So, like I said, wild stuff. Wild stuff. So now I'm having to go back through the comments. Again, kind of a more unorthodox way, but we'll make it happen. It also doesn't help that my contact lenses are starting to kind of dry out as well. It's been a long day. So again, that's a look at the Cape and the potential for some thunderstorm rumbles of thunder as we go through this whole process. Let's take a look at raw model data. Those 3 panels that I like to show you. If you're wondering about snow, here's the latest information about snow, the potential snow totals. They are not pretty. So again, if you're hoping for that, not going to happen. At least on the front end. Back end, still could very easily see a changeover to thunderstorms. But it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some depth of cold air, both of which we can't really rely on or count on with a lot of certainty. Here's the freezing rain potential. Ugh. This is the Barron 3K with the most aggressive 2.5 inches of freezing rain in Camden, Arkansas. It's like, are you kidding me? Really? Mr. Briscato hopping in on the comments and telling us all about the different driving risks, which is very true. Also, for folks that think that driving in sleet is easier, yes, it is at the onset, but then we slush everything up and then all that slush freezes. So it does create some problems. Connie asks, better or worse than yesterday's prediction? I would say we haven't gotten worse. Here's a look at the sleet potential. Again, GFS is still bonkers on sleet potential. It's still like, sleet for everybody. The Barron models are like, I don't know. But in terms of better or worse, that's a tough one to really say with a lot of certainty. Just simply because, the forecast is meant to just change. That's just what they do. But I would say if I had to pick between the two, it's probably a little better than yesterday. That's my honest opinion. Yesterday I was even kind of gloomy and doomy yesterday, and I was like, this is gonna be very, and again, this could still be a very, very impactful system. But in the general thought process, it hasn't gotten worse. So that's, I guess, a positive. Blanket forts, yeah, probably not a bad idea. Will it freeze Tuesday night as well? Yes. We will be below freezing at night for the foreseeable future. Even Wednesday morning, we're back below freezing. Jessica asks, when you discuss thaw out, are we talking about roads being frozen? Yes. I do think that we will run into the possibility of ice accumulation on roadways. Not just bridges and overpasses, but actual main roadways. Speaking of ice accumulations, I forgot that I had these products. I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, I wanted to show them. I wanted to wait until I could show them. No, I just forgot I had them. That's on me. This is called horizontal icing. It's a horizontal icing product, basically showing us how ice, according to the Barron 3K model, how ice would accumulate on horizontal surfaces, sidewalks, things like that, and how much ice you would expect to accumulate. And I know you're probably looking at this going, why has he not shown this before? Because I forgot I could. Emma asked, do I think power outages will be an issue? I think power outages are really tricky, and we're going to get to radial icing in just a minute, which this is looking at icing potential on flat surfaces, horizontal surfaces. Radial icing is going to look at the potential for ice to accumulate on round surfaces, power lines, tree branches, things like that. Again, it's a great product. Is it reliable? We don't know because I haven't really ever used it before. We're going to find out. But power outages are really, really tough to sit here and say, yes, they're going to be a problem, or no, they're not going to be a problem. Usually power outages become a problem when they become a problem. We'll have to just watch. We'll have to watch ice accumulation. We'll have to watch precip type very closely. And again, I want to stress this also to a lot of folks. That's where your reports and pictures and things like that will be very, very critical. You can upload pictures through the Digital Weather Desk app, and you can also just post them in the comments, or you can email them to me, jared@digitalweatherdesk.com, whatever. But that's where that's really important, because then we see that and we see, okay, there's a lot of ice collecting. You can see the power lines are starting to sink. The tree branches are starting to sink. We're going to start running into some problems, blah, 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 blah. But in terms of thawing out, I'm talking about spending extended periods of time above freezing. And I don't think we spend extended periods of time above freezing for a large chunk of the area until Tuesday afternoon. In extended periods of time, I'm talking about at least a couple of hours. At least. It may be Wednesday before some areas spend appreciable amounts of time or extended periods of time above freezing. Yeah, frozen thunderstorms. So I'm just kind of going, like I said, going through the comments, because I'm having to go to like a backup way of looking through the comments, which is kind of a pain in the neck, but whatever. The one time I need the comments to be able to be read over there for a live Q&A when we're trying to read questions, it doesn't work. Go figure. Technology, gotta love it. Heather asks, when do you think it would be good to drive back to Monroe from southern Mississippi? It may be, again, for a lot of areas, the roads may not improve until Tuesday, possibly Wednesday. Who cares about... Never mind. Jim Cantori's a nice guy. And to be honest with you, I don't think he's going to be here, because there's going to be some other spots that I don't think he's going here. Anyway. Sorry, I'm just reading through all these. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, don't ask silly questions when I'm feeling sassy. Which is really sassy. Is more of like a, he's just, the baby got up at 2:50 this morning and didn't fall back asleep till like 4, and she slept till 7. So you know how those days are. It's like nobody slept. So we've been up and rolling. Yeah, so John says his energy buddy told him 3/4 of an inch of ice could bring down power poles and power lines, and that's if limbs don't hit them. That's correct. The general thought process is 1/8 of an inch is enough to start creating issues. 1/4 of an inch starts... That's where the concern for power outages really starts to grow. 1/2 inch, you're starting to talk about perhaps the potential for widespread issues, because tree branches are really starting to weigh down on a lot of the service lines. And then you get to 3/4 of an inch. Now you're just starting to talk about the sheer weight of ice on the lines themselves could come down. So there's a lot that can happen there. So that's the horizontal icing. This is the radial icing. So again, the potential for ice to accumulate on rounded objects, rounded surfaces like tree branches and power lines. And you look at this, and again, usually the thought process with radial icing is you're going to have about 40% the accumulation that you would see versus horizontal icing. So it's not going to be as much. But you look at some of these numbers, and you're talking again about the possibility of some 1/3 of an inch or 1/2 inch ice accumulations on tree branches. That's, again, assuming the precip types just from this one computer model. And that's assuming a lot. You guys want to nerd out just a little bit more? I was able to add some stuff to this versus where we were yesterday. So remember yesterday, I'm going to turn my cursor on so you can see my little arrow here. Remember yesterday we brought up this image. This is the exact same image of the GFS from a forecast sounding. If you did not join us yesterday, this is what we look at to survey an entire column of the atmosphere. You know how weather balloons work? Well, when weather balloons are sent up in the atmosphere, and they measure all of the different parameters of the environment that they measure, eventually all of that information is put on a skew T diagram. and we read it that way. And we can look at, during severe weather forecasts or winter weather forecasts, we can, again, profile the thermal environment of our atmosphere. So then there's also these things called forecast soundings, which is basically forecast models trying to predict what a weather balloon would look like if we sent it up in the future. And that's how we forecast the thermal profile of the environment ahead of winter weather scenarios such as these. So again, this little light blue line is the freezing line. It goes diagonally from the bottom of the skew-T diagram, which is near the surface, all the way diagonally up to the top right. As you move higher in the atmosphere, the top part of this is the top part of the atmosphere. Bottom part is down near the surface. And again, we're going to kind of go really crudely through this. And I showed you this yesterday, and it had the GFS at 16 degrees at the surface, with getting a little bit colder. There's a shallow cold air layer. That Arctic air is very shallow, dense, cold air. But as you move higher in the atmosphere, eventually you climb above freezing. You stay above freezing till about 700 millibars, which is about 10,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And then you go back below freezing. So basically, think of a snowflake that's up here. It's snowing. It goes above freezing. It melts. It's liquid. It falls back, freezes. It's falling, and it refreezes as a sleet pellet. This is a pretty easy forecast. If the thermal profile of the environment set up like this, you'd be able to look at it and go, this is a pretty easy forecast. Here's the European model from just a few minutes ago. I pulled it from the 18Z model. So now look at the freezing line, same spot. At the surface, your temperature and your dew point. Temperature's the red line, dew point's the green line. Again, the air is pretty much completely saturated in all levels, so precipitation's pretty much a given. But note, you've got it 32 degrees, so you're right at freezing at the surface. And then you immediately jolt above freezing, stay above freezing till about 10,000 feet up, drop below freezing then. So again, snowflakes falling, it's snow, melts. Not only does it melt, it goes into a very, very warm layer that's 38, 40 degrees, and it stays melted until it gets to about a few hundred feet above the surface. And then when it does hit the surface is only right at freezing. What's the precip type? It's probably going to be rain, maybe freezing rain, depending on the temperature. But that freezing rain, that water's going to freeze very slowly because you're right at the freezing mark. And fractions of a degree mean all the difference in the world. That's why I continue to say this is a very nuanced forecast. Okay, so that was just a bunch of stuff. All right. Let me scroll back up because again, I'm having to go through these comments in a very unorthodox way. Marley asks, when is it going to start to be unsafe on the roads? I generally think that most folks will probably still be able to travel through most of the day Friday. Southern Arkansas is the caveat there. Southern Arkansas is kind of the wild card. You folks may have travel issues starting Friday afternoon. Northern Louisiana, western Mississippi, it's probably going to be Saturday morning when roads start deteriorating. And once they start deteriorating, like I said, they won't get better for a couple of days. Mm-hmm. Amy asked, do I happen to have the ice totals from the 94 storm? I do not. If I would have known that you needed those or wanted those ahead of time, I would have probably pulled them up. The Weather Service probably has some database or an information, like kind of an archive thing that I could go back to. I didn't pull them up. And I was 9. I'm not trying to be that guy, but I was 9. Just trying to see, like, I'm checking most of, we have a lot of folks on YouTube, and like I said, I'm having to bounce from all the different platforms because of how we're having to do this, and so that's kind of a pain in the rumpus. But am I seeing us on YouTube? Let me go back over here. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right. Thanks, guys. Sorry. Christy asked, does 3B still have generators available? They may see about one tomorrow. Yes. 3B, I believe, 3B Hardware in Sterlington still has them. Bayou Power Sports also has them. Go see Matt. Go see Mike. Those guys will take care of you. Cam asks, late to the party, have we heard anything about the recon flights? Haven't had a chance to check in the models. We're getting conflicting reports, Cam, on whether that data is actually in this model cycle. And I know you're probably going, come on, man. And I'm thinking the same thing. We just don't know. And again, I don't have the ability to show the new data because it's still kind of finalizing. In fact, the NAM's the only one that's actually run. The GFS is running as we speak. Oh, the run. All right, so the GFS is pretty much done. So let's look at that. Again, I can't I say let's. Like I've got a mouse in my pocket because you guys can't see it. I can look at this. You know what? All right, let's do this thing. You guys bear with me. Probably shouldn't. Man, here we go. We're gonna pull this thing over on Pivotal. So we're going to use Pivotal Weather. And Pivotal is, I pay for a extra kind of subscription cost to Pivotal so we can look at this. This is not the right model. Let me pull this up real quick. So this is the 0Z GFS. This is still running, so we only have a few images to it. Actually, we have a good bit of it, and it's kind of loading in. So again, it's running the same general thing. Rain starting this precip. The frozen precip starts southern Arkansas. It's Friday night, Saturday morning. This is Friday night at 9 p.m. Sleet, sleet, sleet. Changes over. It's still very persistent at changing the frozen precipitation along the I-20 corridor right around sunrise Saturday morning. So not a lot of significant change there. Southern parishes, it'll be later in the day Saturday. Ice, ice, ice. Sleet, sleet, sleet. A little bit of a lull. Back in late Saturday through the day Sunday. Clearing out Sunday afternoon. So all that fuss about the latest computer models and what are they going to say? And they pretty much say the exact same thing they've been saying. Or at least the GFS said that. At least we know. I mean, it's better than not knowing. Probably not going to spend as much time on the stream answering questions tonight. We went like an hour and 15 minutes last night. It's been a long day, and this is a marathon, not a sprint. We got a long way to go. So I know you guys will understand that as well. Abby asks, I have an appointment in Monroe on the 29th. You think the roads from Pioneer to Monroe would be good by then? 29th is, what is that? That's what? Next week from Thursday? Probably, I would think by then we should probably be okay. I wouldn't be too worried about that yet. And that's another thing that I really, in all honesty, just I want to reiterate to folks that especially get anxiety from these types of events is that don't borrow too much worry. Hey, winter storm warning out. Or the winter storm warning out over Oklahoma. But don't borrow too much worry about these types of things. Again, there's still a lot of stuff we don't know, especially regards to precip type. Sleet's a lot more manageable than freezing rain. So, again, these are all things that I really want folks to keep in mind. We're trying to keep everybody's feet kind of firmly planted in reality on what we can expect. Ginger asks, Friday morning okay for driving in Monroe, West Monroe? Friday morning, yes. Again, I think there's going to be some folks that there's going to be a lot of areas along and south of I-20 that may not even see any precipitation through much of the day Friday. So if you go to school Friday, if you're sent to school Friday, you're like, whoa, why are we at school Friday? It's probably because you're in an area that's probably not getting much precip. And if you do get any, it's going to probably be rain. Robin asks, when will the next update be? From me, I'm going to do a new live stream tomorrow morning. It'll be probably between 7 and 8. It will be the most informally scheduled out of all of our stuff tomorrow. So here's what I got planned for tomorrow. Next live's tomorrow morning, probably between 7 and 8. Too Long Didn't Read's at 9:30. Then we'll have additional afternoon live streams. I will have set times for those. I just don't have them yet because I haven't decided yet. Probably going to do that 2 p.m. or 1 to 2 p.m. kind of ballpark again. I like that time frame. It lets me get all of the data in, and it lets me kind of take the time on the forecast. Lisa put in some information about the Delta ice storm. I appreciate that. That's a good link. So again, that's when I'll join you again. That'll be the next live update. I'm just scrolling through, making sure I don't miss anything. And then we'll probably start trying to wrap things up. Again, I don't want to take too much time. I just wanted to kind of go through some things, answer some questions. A lot of this to me is creating a community. I don't want folks to ever feel like, even if you're sitting at home alone for a severe weather event or a winter weather event, I don't ever want anybody to really feel like they are alone. Like you can hop on here on these live streams and hang out with us, and we can all just kind of learn about stuff together. Krista asks, haven't been on long. Is it supposed to be anything like the 90s ice storm? Again, I wasn't here in the 90s ice storm. I remember the 99 ice storm in Arkansas. Again, we won't. There's going to be so many questions about precip type. And that's going to be the real wild card. If we wind up with sleet, this could end up being like, well, it was an impactful system. Wow, that was crazy. You know, that was a lot of sleet. But we'd probably fare better than if the vast majority of it's freezing rain. If this is freezing rain, as much as we're seeing, we're looking at some major headaches. We're looking at the possibility of power outages and travel interruptions and all those types of things. Haley asks, Haley, it's 1L, so I don't want to mess this up. Sorry. Well, I messed it up either way because I said both, and so one of them was wrong. Could the rain we got today play any role in possibly making the winter weather worse due to the ground already being saturated or should dry? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. In fact, in many ways, it could sometimes keep the ground a smidge warmer because it's more moist, and so all that saturated ground cools down slower. But considering how cold we're going to get, or at least as cold as we're forecast to get, most of that shouldn't make a difference. Ruth has family that has to leave to drive to Shreveport at 3 a.m. Saturday morning, catch a plane, and get on another plane going to Nicaragua on Saturday. What are the chances of flights being canceled leaving Shreveport House? I mean, it's a very good possibility. The winter storm conditions right down the I-20 corridor. There's a lot of other areas that are we'll go back to the winter storm watches and warnings. You guys don't need to sit there and see that schedule. But yeah, I mean, the winter storm warnings are just north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they're under a winter storm watch. So again, this is going to be an impactful system for a lot of areas. Jeff asks, hearing we may have another front next weekend. Any accuracy to that? I mean, it's too early. We're still talking. I mean, it's Wednesday. That would be a week and a half from now. 10 days, 10 days. We can look at trends. We can't really look at a lot of specifics. There's kind of the where there's smoke, there's fire to this. We're in a progressively cold pattern, and it is an extended cold pattern. So if we're going to be in an extended cold pattern, it obviously opens up the opportunity for not one, but maybe multiple opportunities of wintry precipitation just because we're in that prolonged cold. But I can't really say that with any certainty. I've seen the models cycle through with some snow a week from basically next weekend. I mean, it's just too early. I need some hold music while I'm reading through all this stuff. Ashley says her son's down south in Cameron, supposed to be coming into West Monroe Saturday evening. Will it be okay to travel here? I mean, that's going to be a tough call because, again, conditions will probably get worse as he goes farther northward. And, again, I expect road conditions to probably start taking the turn. If the forecast pans out the way it's sitting right now, a lot of folks will start to see the roads and the conditions start to take that turn some point early in the day Saturday. One of the bigger concerns I have in terms of the road conditions is that early onset precipitation in the form of rain. Again, we know that our transportation departments go out and treat the roads, and you can only do so much to treat the roadways. But if they treat the roads and then all of a sudden you get a burst of rain that washes all that pre-treatment off the roads, where are we at then? So that's something to keep in mind too. Our first responders, our linemen, folks that have to work, they don't have the luxury of getting a sick day or getting, frozen in or having snow days. We appreciate what you guys do. Guys and gals, thank you so much. Again, we appreciate all of you. Please stay safe and don't make their job more difficult by trying to travel if you don't have to. If you're going to the grocery store, a lot of folks are going there. Don't forget that foods that you can't cook are always a good idea. I know everybody talks about milk, bread, and eggs, but what happens if you have a power outage? Those are going to be the first things to go. Although ice storm of 99, our family, it dropped down to like 8 or 9 degrees in Little Rock. We were out of power for 99 hours and 52 minutes. I kept counting. I'll never forget. Because I was sitting there going, we're about to get to 100 hours without power. I was, young, and I was like 13 or 14, so I had that kind of time on my hands. I guess I was 14. Anyway, I was like, we're almost at 100 hours, almost 100 hours. And then the power came back on. I was like, we couldn't have waited 8 more minutes. Reached 100 hours. We all slept in the living room because my parents had a water bed back then, back when those were a thing, and you can't sleep on a water bed when the power goes out because you get like hypothermia and stuff. So Steve says this kind of information has never been available to us before. I mean, in all fairness, again, the whole point of this platform is to inform and educate, right? That's the whole reason I created this. But it's also to do whatever we want. For lack of a better term, it's exactly what it is. If we want to sit here and talk for 45 minutes about winter weather potential, and several hundred folks want to join and ask questions and, again, create a community style where we can all be here together and talk about this, learn from one another, inform and educate. That's genuinely my job. It's been my job for 20 years, inform and educate. If I can entertain you along the way because I read, Jared, you're sassy, you're funny. Again, this is just me. And you can ask my wife. You can ask my kid. She can't talk. My mom, who just literally hopped on. I mean, this is just me. This is all I know how to do. This is my way of helping my community and playing my role in my community. Is just helping folks understand the atmosphere and why it does the things it does to us. So I'm just happy to help. I'm happy to be able to play my role. Again, forecast is always available at digitalweatherdesk.com and on the app. Oh, Tracy, don't ask that question. Tracy asked the question, do you think it's going to get bad? Here's why I don't like that question. And again, Tracy's like, dang, I'm getting yelled at. I'm not yelling at you. Here's why I don't like that question. Because bad means different to everybody. What you deem as bad, I'm like, that wasn't whatever. But then, for instance, thunderstorms. Somebody gets a summertime thunderstorm, lightning everywhere, heavy rainfall, and they're like, man, that was the worst thunderstorm I've ever lived through. That thing was scary. That was bad. But by definition, it wasn't severe. And then meanwhile, you'd be under severe thunderstorm warning, severe thunderstorm rolls through, and you're like, that wasn't that bad. You know what I mean? I think this could be an impactful winter system for a very large part of our area. it has the potential to do so. For people that live in trailers, would it be smarter to cut the water off at the meter and drain the lines? Amanda, I got to be honest with you. That's a question I would consult a plumber, because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. And that's how I'm going to answer that question. And I'm not even going to expand and go, I would think or I would speculate, because I don't want to tell you wrong. Lisa says you don't have to fuss about it. You don't have to listen to all those Karens fuss about us missing shows. You know, that's been the best thing about all of this is people are here because they want to be here. Nobody's sitting here going, oh my gosh, please be quiet so I can go to sleep. If you want to go to sleep, hit the little X in the top right corner and take your booty to sleep. That's fine. Get what you need out of this and go. And I mean that. If you want, if getting what you need out of it is staying here from beginning to end, great. Being a part of this community, that's awesome. If all you needed was to hop in and, oh, I saw the sleet, all right, sleet, 1/4 of an inch, ice, 1/2 inch, that's all I needed. All right, I'll check with him tomorrow. If that's all you need, cool. That's great. That's the whole point of this, is so you can get what you need and go on with your day. Be as interactive and as part of as much of this as you would like. Eddie asks about College Station. Again, a lot of these areas are going to see stuff. And it's going to stretch pretty far south into Central Texas. How far south into Central Texas is a tough call. I suggest following, and I don't know if they reach all the way to College Station because it's pretty far west, but I also suggest another good follow is Gulf Coast Weather Solutions. They do the exact same thing that I do, just down along the coastline, the Houston, Beaumont area, Sabine Pass, and some of those spots. Oh, Tracy, I'm just messing with you. Thanks for jumping in. I know you just got off. You said you just got off work. Glad you got hopped in, and I'm just giving you a hard time. Matt Wiley says plumber here definitely wouldn't hurt anything. See, I that's why I ain't gonna answer it. Ashley, there are some models showing this thing shifting north. What are your thoughts? All right, so everybody keeps saying the models are shifting north, and that's because people are in. A lot of other meteorologists interpret that as the case, and while it kind of is, we're also just kind of seeing a general. A lot of these small fluctuations are very normal, and I want folks to really understand that we're looking, and that's what I mean when I say this is a very nuanced forecast. If we were looking, if this was just, if it was 54 degrees outside, and this system was going to roll through and just bring rain for 3 days, nobody would be looking at, well, it's trending a little bit north, so that's going to pull in some warmer air, and so instead of being 57, it's going to be 60. We could maybe get a few thunderstorms with the rain, blah, blah, blah. Again, nobody pays attention to that because it's not as impactful. It's just rain. Okay, cool. La-ti-da, we'll move on with our day. When it's this stuff and those little small subtle shifts along the way lead to such large trickle-down impacts, again, I don't really take I'm really keeping the forecast where we are right now. I'm keeping it almost in a holding pattern until we can get all of that recon data to circle through. And as I mentioned, for those that are just hopping in, the flights, it's going to take probably 2 or 3 model cycles for that data to really become as beneficial as we want it to be. So we're still talking 12 to 18 hours of waiting. And also, in all fairness, we're talking about something that is with the slower onset of precipitation. We're now talking about something that is still Saturday. This is now we're wrapping up Wednesday, going into Thursday. We still have about 48 hours worth of messing around with the forecast. Actually, closer to 60 hours of messing around with the forecast in a lot of instances. So there's a lot of time to bend and flex. And in that regard. Okay. Let me see what else we got on YouTube. On Facebook, sorry. Andy says energy was trimming trees. Yeah, a lot of and there's been a lot of tree maintenance work. I've noticed they were in our town. Courtney says search for propane bottles for 3 hours today with no luck. That's no bueno. Tracy, I'm just messing. Tracy's never gonna ask another question ever again. I'm totally picking fun at you. She's gonna unfollow. Please don't. I'm just messing with you. Just scanning through all the stuff here. I'm kind of running behind. I'm like 2 or 3 minutes behind on comments here. Lori asks, flying out of Dallas 12:45 Friday. You think we'll be freezing yet? Probably not. DFW, in full disclosure, I have not looked at their temperature profiles at all. At all. I would think probably not, but it's possible. Betsy asks, are there any particular Pop-Tart flavors you do or don't recommend for nourishment? First off, the new cinnamon roll ones are really good. Brown sugar cinnamon, s'mores, the new cinnamon rolls, traditional strawberry. Do not hook me up with those chocolate fudge ones unless you're putting that chocolate fudge one on microwaved, not toasted, microwaved, makes it chewier, put it under a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Then I'm in. Yes, portable generators, 3B Hardware in Sterlington, 165 North, and Bayou Power Sports, I-20 Frontage Road in Monroe. Both have portable generators. Scrolling. Time that we can expect the icy weather, Kaylee. Generally, it just depends on location. Most of us, it'll probably be Saturday morning when we start to see that change over to frozen precipitation. Tina asks, when's the freezing rain, sleet? Again, for most areas, probably going to be Saturday morning. Hopping over to you. Oh, Ken on YouTube asks, sorry, Ken, if I'm just now seeing this. It's he says, what's the difference between sleet and grapple? Grapple is what it is. Graupel. And what's the difference between the two? Sleet falls, melts, refreezes, ice pellet. Grapple is kind of like it's almost like a Dippin' Dot. They fall like, and we've had them in the ArcLimus a couple of different times. The last time I can remember was having Grapple 2000 and something. I don't know. I'm terrible with dates. Anyway, it's essentially it's kind of like a snowflake, but then there's the super cooled water droplets adhere to it on the outer fringes and kind of give it that puffy appearance, I guess, is probably the best way to describe it. So it's snow that's collecting water on the way down. Sleet refreezes as an ice pellet. Jeffrey asks, how's the alien penguin forecast looking? Hey, look, all I'm going to say about the alien penguins, first off, when I throw those things in those forecast discussions, it's just because I'm trying to make you guys smile while you're reading 8 paragraphs of weather stuff. And I know that stuff can get really, really boring and stuff like that. I get it. So I'm just trying to make you guys smile. And it's a lot of dad humor. But I think I'm not liking our opportunities. Alien laser penguins, we're going to have some really bad traction there for a little bit. If you don't get the inside joke, my apologies. Ethan asks, how's the Little Debbie stock looking out there? Let me tell you a little story about Little Debbie's in just a second. Jason says, yeah, it's yeah. I was supposed to shut this thing down a few minutes ago and I didn't. We're about to stop it. All right, so one quick story about Little Debbie's before I split. So I went to one of our local grocery stores here recently, and the gentleman was there. He may be on this live stream because I told him about the app and he needed to, and that I was still doing the weather because he noticed who I was and everything. So I go to this local grocery store and he works for Little Debbie. He's stocking the shelves. He's wearing a Little Debbie hat. And first off, I was like, that's a cool hat. I want that hat. But I neither here nor there. And so we're sitting there, and I'm looking, and they had the Cosmic Brownies. I'm not a Cosmic Brownie fan. I'm a Fudge Brownie fan. And if you ever remember, the Fudge Brownies back in the day, the difference, Cosmic Brownies have the candied chocolates on top of the brownie. The Fudge Brownies have crushed walnuts on top of the brownies. They just taste better to me. And I think that the fudge on the top microwaves better and turns into a fudgier brownie when you heat it up. Anyway, long story short, I just walked up to the guy because I'll ask anybody anything, and I was like, "Hey man, why do they not make the fudge brownies anymore?" And he spins around to me and he's like, "I don't know." And then he gets like 4 words in and he goes, "Hey, you're the weather guy." And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh man, I think you're great at what you do. I enjoy your forecast and everything." I was like, "Hey, thanks so much." I was like, I've got my own platform now. You should download the app, all this stuff. He's like, "Great, cool stuff." And we sat and talked about weather for, a good 5 minutes. And he never answered my question. He never answered the question about the Little Debbies and the fudge brownies. I've Googled it. And the only thing that I can learn is apparently they just, demand was so low, which I was keeping those suckers in business at the height of it. Back in we talk about chunky snow. Back in my chunky Jared days, I was putting like 3 boxes of those down a week. Things are delicious. James says he likes the salted caramels. Those are good. I could go on a Little Debbie retro kick right now. And we could sit here and talk. My brother hopped in. My brother Brian up in Central Arkansas says apple flips. Apple flips are great. Star Crunches. Star Crunches. They also had those salted caramel cookie bars. I think that may be what James was talking about. I used to eat those a lot too. Everybody was big Nutter Butter fans. That was never my thing. Star Crunches, fudge rounds. Throw them at my face, man. I'm never going to turn down a Little Debbie cake, though. Christmas tree cakes. Oh, macaroons. Me and my brother could sit here and... If you guys aren't careful, me and my brother will hop down nostalgia lane and we'll be talking about everything. Star Crunches, those are the way to go. Miss Tafton knows what I'm talking about. You get it. Hey, all right, we gotta stop. I gotta get up early. We got a live stream at 7:00. I gotta look at computer model data at 4 a.m. We got all kinds of stuff going on. So we're gonna wrap this thing up. Zebra cakes. Oatmeal cream pies are just the general staple, Miss Sean. To be honest, like oatmeal cream pies, like I will never turn one of those down ever. You're like, "Oh, Jared, you sad? You had a bad day? This is the worst day ever. Would you like an oatmeal cream pie?" Yeah. Those things are amazing. Forecast is always available at digitalweatherdesk.com. Thanks so much for taking time out of the day. I know it's 11 o'clock at night. Folks hanging out, talking weather. Again, being a part of a community. That's really cool stuff. And Nephew Cooper hopped on. Half my dadgum family's on this thing. Mom's on here. My brother's on here. My nephew's on here. My wife's asleep. She had a really long day. Daughter's asleep. Hopefully she stays asleep because she got up really early in the morning. So having to look at all the computer models on my phone while she's sleeping and is nuts. Anyway, thanks for taking time out of the evening to spend it with us. A lot more content headed your way. Or in the words of Clubber Lang and Rocky 3, got a lot of mo coming your way as we go through the next couple of days and into the upcoming weekend. Thanks so much for stopping by the Digital Weather Desk powered by Central Next Bank. Forecast is always available at digitalweatherdesk.com and on the app. And I'll see you in the morning.